Hey there, I'm Tim Shabanowitz.
And I'm Christopher McSweeney.
And here we're going to give you lesson 8. We're going to talk about workspaces today. But first, a quote by, apologies for the name, Micah Comaran, but the quote is spot on. And the quote is, "The function of design is letting design function." So think about that for about 30 seconds or so, and we'll see you on the other side.
So as we look at this quote, which is huge in what we're trying to do, it's incredibly obvious, and I love this quote. The function of design is letting design function. I know it just sounds like
repetitive or redundant, yeah.
Duh. But so many people miss it, right? That's where you get those designs that like don't work right. You're like, why is this awkward? Now, a few videos ago, we talked about, and you introduced this idea of form following function. Do you want to give us a quick recap?
Sure. Quite simplistically, anything that you design or a space that you're in, a form that you make, all that stuff, all the things that it does is dictated by the function of that space or what it's intended to do. And if it doesn't do that, then you have pretty much failure. The form should always follow the function of the space. There needs to be intentionality with that.
Yes. Excellent. I love hearing that. So let's jump in, turn the page here. So what's the point of all of this that we're doing, like talking about workspaces and stuff like that? You don't have to adhere to this. I do. This helps me process things. So I wanted to give you a tool that would help you guys process. But I always kind of look through the lens of receive, redeem, and reject. Okay. Back in lesson 1, we talked about the principal goal of education, trying to get people to become creators and things like that. So if that's the principal goal, I'm always looking through this lens of, what do I receive? What do I, when I visit a space or talk to another educator, or not even, sometimes my brother who works in finance, what do I learn from him that I can just receive and add into what I'm doing? Okay. Skip redeem for a second. Now, when we talk about reject, that's kind of the converse of receive. That's when I just say, you know what, I see a space or a practice that's just not coming in my classroom. I'm not going to do that. Either I don't believe in it, it comes unnatural to me, stuff like that. Okay. Now, redeem is when I see something and I go, I like it, but I don't 100% like it. But I don't like it, but I don't 100% don't like it.
It's like the Goldilocks kind of thing. It's right in the middle.
Right in the middle. And so how do I take something that isn't my style, but morph it into a way that can work for me and my students? So
I think ultimately the redeem one is probably the most valuable because you can kind of put your stamp on your specific style that you're trying to go after.
Absolutely. It's also the one that stretches you the most. So, for instance, in my classroom, best practice in language education is reading. I never incorporated reading. And then someone finally convinced me. Thank you, Carolina, for convincing me that reading is awesome for students. And so what I landed on was taking Quacky El Pato, the duck that I use in my class for all my examples, and turning him into a book.
Yeah.
And so that was the biggest stretch for me as an educator, because then it forced me to write a book and then use that element in my teaching.
And the kids love it.
They do. Everybody loves Quacky.
Yeah.
So as you go through things, these are just, it's always easy to remember, 3 words all have the same starting letter.
Alliteration.
Yeah. So you don't need to use this. It is helpful, though, although you do need to use it for this lesson. Speaking of, what are we doing on the next page here?
Sure. Yeah. So on the next page, I want you to go back to assignment 2 and think about the spaces that you visited
during the campus
scramble. Or wherever you scramble to. And instead of thinking about it just materials and textures and lighting and sound, I want you to start thinking about how the space functions. Is it functioning with its intended purpose in mind, or is it falling short, or is it perfect? And I want you to kind of analyze how that is. Identify where the space is, does it function, and why do you think that? And then you want to kind of identify the things that you can receive or take from that space, the things you don't want to do, reject from that space, or things that you can tinker with, redeem. And do that. We gave you space for 3 of those spaces, but maybe you do a couple more. That's why we have extra pages in the back of the book. But kind of do this and keep going until you have a whole swath of things, and you can kind of go back and communicate those with others.
Absolutely. You're going to see this page again, which we've already done. What we would love for you to do is then dive deeper into one of those spaces, whichever one kind of is impacting you the most, and really start dissecting it at another level, right?
Yeah.
And so we're kind of onions, right?
Yep.
Got layers.
You got to peel it.
Good.
For sure.
Keep in mind our lovely quote, constraints are the catalyst for creativity. So there might be something where you go, man, I really like that element. I want to receive it, but I just can't because X, Y, or Z.
Yeah.
What constraint is going to drive your creativity to come up with another solution? Like how I couldn't paint my room, so instead we painted giant pieces of wood and screwed them into the wall.
Yep. And that's better for our facilities department, but it did the intended purpose.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then we have a DOD
Yeah.
as well, which is probably one of my favorites out of all of them because of the photography. But you want to just give me a rundown of how the DODs work again?
Yeah. So we're going to look at this one. This is the Institut du Monde Arabe. It's in Paris, France, by Jean Nouvel. And at first glance, it just looks like a generic building. But the viewpoint that I'm going to give you is something that's up close, and I want you to take a look at it. It is related to photography because there's a lot of apertures in this building window that open and close based on how much light there is, or they're supposed to. Actually, right now, most of them are not functioning, but it's a really cool design aesthetic. And what happens in this building is that there's a lot of different workspaces in the building. There's a library, there's a cafeteria, there's a museum, and these apertures or windows impact all those different spaces. So you can kind of see how does it work or does it not work, or where could it work better. Just take a look. It's fun. So take about 5 to 7 minutes looking at this sketch, draw it, and reflect on those questions.
Awesome. Well, we hope this video helps, and good luck.
We'll see you on the next one.
Well, we hope this video helps.
And we'll see. Oh.
Come on, man. Come on. No, I got it. All right.